Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Have you been in situations where you want to pray but you don't have wudu nor access to water? Or maybe you have water but it will cause your skin harm? Or you need to do ghusl before salah but you only have a few minutes before the time of salah runs out? Enter tayammum. You may have come across this term before, or perhaps you're thinking, I won't be in any of those situations. But the reality is, none of us knows for sure, and hence we need to know about tayammum, how to do it, and a few rulings associated with it. Therefore, the following are the main questions many people often ask. When can we use tayammum instead of wudu or ghusl? Number one, when we don't have any water. Of course, that's the obvious reason, but we need to search for water as much as possible, and if time for prayers actually allow. For example, a friend once told me that the washroom inside the plane was occupied and there was quite a few people waiting, a queue. Therefore, he decided to do tayammum. But we can ask perhaps for some water and then do our wudu. Jurists have said that even if we must borrow money to get some water, we should, provided we can repay back the loan. So try your best to find water. Number two, sometimes we don't have access to water on account of old age, weakness, fear of a thief or an animal, or an excessive hardship, haraj and mashaqqa, for example. Number three, if there is a probability that the water harms us in any way or causes or worsens an illness, then we should do tayammum. We don't have to have certainty regarding this, and a mere possibility of harm is sufficient to switch to tayammum. Number four, sometimes you only have enough water to wash your clothes that are impure, najis, and not enough to do wudu as well. In such a case, use the water to wash the clothes and then perform tayammum. Number five, when there is not enough time to do ghusl or wudu because time of salah will lapse, we can do tayammum. This usually happens, for example, in the morning before sunrise. Even if you doubt whether you have time or not, you should do tayammum. What can I use for tayammum? Well, we can use soil, pebbles, a clod of earth, or stone. By soil we mean fine sand, and it's best to have some at home or in your car, for example, just in case, because it's best to use this fine sand. And if we don't have any, then we can use pebbles and so on. If these are not available, we can do tayammum with mud or dust that gathers on carpets, clothing and similar things if its quantity is such that it can commonly be considered to be fine soil. We should avoid using stones such as aqiq if possible. What happens if I don't have any of these and need to do tayammum? The recommended precaution is that we should perform prayers without performing tayammum. However, it is obligatory to make them up afterwards when we can actually do the wudu or the tayammum. Any special features of these things in which we can do tayammum? Yes. They must be pure, tahir, and based on obligatory precaution, it must also be commonly considered to be clean, meaning that it must not be tainted with anything that causes disgust. Also, the things we use must not be usurped as well. How do we do tayammum? Well, first, ensure to take off any rings and remove any barriers in the skin of the forehead as well as the hands. Make the intention that we're doing tayammum for the sake of gaining proximity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You don't need to make the intention of whether it's for wudu or ghusl. Strike or place the palms of both hands on something with which tayammum can be validly performed. The striking of both palms must be done at the same time, i.e., not one after the other. Wipe the palms of both hands over the entire forehead, from the place where the hair of the head grows to the eyebrows and above the nose, as such. Try to cover the two sides of the forehead as well. It's also good to wipe over the eyebrows if you can. If your hair falls into the forehead, draw it back. Then starting above the wrist of the right hand, wipe the palm of the left hand over the whole of the back of the right hand as such. Then do the same for the left hand. You should start on the right hand and then move on to the left and not the other way round. Some people don't start on the wrist joint or just above it, unfortunately, and quickly just wipe as such. This is a problem and should be avoided. It is recommended that before you wipe your right hand, you strike both hands on the sole again, although this is not obligatory. Therefore, tayammum is the wiping of the entire forehead as well as the wiping of the right hand and the left hand, both starting from the joint of the wrist. Any other things to know about tayammum? Yes, quite a few things actually, but here are the main ones. First, if you do tayammum because you didn't have water or because of some other legitimate excuse, then once that excuse expires, the tayammum becomes void. For example, when water becomes available, you can't use the same tayammum to pray again. 2. The things that invalidate wudu also invalidate tayammum performed in place of wudu. And the things that invalidate ghusl also invalidate tayammum performed in place of ghusl. 3. If you perform tayammum in place of ghusl, for example for janaba, it is not necessary to perform wudu for the prayers. This is the same for other wajib ghusls such as hayd as well. Please check your Marja''s book of Islamic laws for further details. Or if you do have any questions, visit the Ask the Sheikh section of www.islamiced.org.